Hello everybody and welcome to the Kerbal space program. I am Elbristo and you are watching the Elitopia gaming channel. Now many of you will be familiar with the live streams that we do on Friday nights, but I thought that we would do some off live stream recording because I wanted to get a Kethane mining operation set up in our save game, and some of that can be quite boring and laborious, so none of you have been really voting for it to be covered in the live streams. So this video is all about setting up our Kethane mining operation, and the first stage of setting up any Kethane mining operation is to scan for Kethane. Now if we are going to be mining Kethane and setting up some kind of refueling station, we probably are not going to be able to do that on Kerbin, because of the high gravity means that getting that fuel anywhere other than from the mining site would be pretty difficult. That means that we need to set up an extraplanetary mining operation, and where better to mine Kethane so that we can send it back up into space to refuel our ships than on Minmus. So I've decided to set up a Kethane mining operation on Minmus. What you can see going on in the background here is the construction of a Kethane scanning satellite. I've used the base of the satellite launcher, the Trident 8 launcher that we used to put our geosynchronous communication satellites in orbit, and I've deconstructed it and put a Kethane scanner on the top so that we can send this over to Minmus, and this can start our scanning operation to find the sources of Kethane on Minmus, so that we can follow this up with the various different pieces of our mining equipment. Equipment that we're going to need some kind of space station in orbit so that we can convert the Kethane into fuel, so that we can have a refueling station that we can send our ships to for future missions. But importantly, we also need a mining drill, which will take the form of some kind of lander that has the drill attached. It will drill and store the Kethane and then launch that Kethane into orbit to meet with our space station, where it will get converted into fuel. So this is me putting together the satellite and the launcher to put this satellite into orbit, firstly above Kerbin, and then we will send it out to Minmus, probably to a polar orbit around Minmus, so that we can start scanning. And here we are on the launch pad with the Kethane 1 launcher now completed. With the remote tech mod installed, we have to first of all set up our communications so that we don't lose contact with this unmanned probe on its way to Minmus. So that's what I'm doing here. We get our SAS on, we get our throttle up, and we launch. We are off. I didn't bother with a countdown because I was doing this off the live stream. However, we get a nice quick launch. We do lose the communications antenna that was on the top of the satellite, but other than that, because we've already set up the satellite dishes and they're already communicating with mission control, we are good to continue. So the launch carries on and we stage off some of our engines and head into orbit. You can see here we're using the new nuclear engine that we unlocked in our live stream, and I've added a couple of extra little jet engines to give us a little bit of extra boost, just to make sure that we get into orbit, because I did cut the fuel and the weight and everything very fine on this launch. But as you will see, we did indeed make it into orbit, and we got ourselves lined up with Minmus, and we started burning to extend our orbit out towards Minmus. And now, as we enter the influence of the gravitational pull of Minmus, you can see that with that little thin green line heading back towards Kerbin, that's our communication link with our geosynchronous satellites that we set up previously. But here we now start our manoeuvre to get ourselves into an orbit around Minmus. It's important that we get our periapsis and our apoapsis underneath 250 kilometers, 250,000 meters, because that is the range of the small Kethane scanner that we have brought along with us. And you can see I'm trying to set up a polar orbit because that will help us to cover the widest area of the planet possible with just one scanning satellite. Now, doing this manoeuvre does use a little bit more fuel, and as I said, we did cut the fuel very, very fine, but the nuclear engine that we have, obviously being as efficient as it is, manages to get us most of the way, and then we do have a small fuel tank and a very small engine attached to the satellite itself, which we use to complete the orbit to keep us under the 250,000 meter limit so that we can scan this planet through an entire orbit. So as we approach the periapsis of our new orbit around Minmus, you can see we set up a manoeuvre to calculate how much fuel and how much of a burn is necessary to get us under the 250,000 meter boundary that we need to keep this satellite under. And it takes very little fuel according to our onboard calculator. So we get ourselves lined up and we zip ourselves to our manoeuvre node and we burn off that extra speed to bring our apoapsis down under 250,000 meters. So with our orbit sorted, we activate our Kethane scanner, we make sure that our solar panels are pointing directly towards the sun, and we let this little guy start to do his job. And we can look at the Kethane map, we increase the time warp, and almost straight away, ding, we start to find some Kethane. Now, if you're familiar with the Kethane mod, you will notice that this scan is going by very, very quickly. I haven't sped up the video that I recorded. This is the speed that I actually performed the scan. I did cheat very slightly because I have modified the Kethane mod just a little bit so that the scanning speed of the scanner is not quite as long. So we can afford to speed up the time warp so that we don't have to wait around quite as long to find this Kethane. So our little guy does his job admirably. We leave him to scan. He finds us lots and lots of Kethane. He scans quite a good cross section of the planet. However, we suddenly run into a problem. We get a little error message pop up on the screen that our solar panels have overheated, and as a safety precaution they shut down. Now, of course, the problem is that this means that we lose our electric charge. So our scanning satellite shuts down, stops scanning, and more importantly, loses communication with Kerbin. So he is now adrift around Minmus, having served his purpose very, very well and found us lots of sources of Kethane. We now have to say goodbye to our Kethane scanning friend. However, our satellite has done a very good job of scanning Minmus, and we do find quite a number of very conveniently placed Kethane deposits. This one in particular has a very large area and a very large amount of Kethane, and it is equatorial. We have a look at a couple of the other patches that it's found to see if there is a more suitable location for our mining operation. However, in the end, we go back to the first patch, as this is probably our best bet for Kethane mining. So for now, we say goodbye to Minmus, we head back to Kerbal, and we start to consider what we are going to do with our Kethane mining operation. So the next stage of our mining plan will be to put a space station in orbit above Minmus that we can use as a rendezvous point for ships incoming so that they can refuel, but also for our Kethane to be delivered to so that it can be converted into fuel for those ships. Now, I have built a space station once before. You can have a look back through my YouTube channel to the building of the KSS space station. And I use a very similar kind of method as I play around with ideas for this space station. We're going to need to take a science lab with us. We are going to need to take some hitchhiker containment units. We need solar panels, we need fuel, we need food, we need oxygen. All those things get taken into consideration as I put this together. However, we are going to take another closer look at this in another video. So for now, I am going to say thank you for watching Elitopia Gaming. Thank you for watching the Kerbal space program. I have been Elbristo. Please do not forget to like, comment and subscribe so that you receive notifications of the next time that we put a video up. You can also follow our Twitch channel over at twitch.tv/Elbristo so that you can join in with our live streams on Friday nights. We start our streams at 8:30 GMT on Friday. That's 3:30 EST, or 9:30 if you're in Spain like me. I welcome you to come along and join us. So thank you for watching. I hope you've enjoyed this video, and I look forward to seeing you next time. See you later, guys.